So after watching every single SMG4 arc from the very beginning to the final videos, I believe it is time to make a tier list where I show you guys how highly I rank some of these characters. And I'm gonna rank them based on how important they are, based on how cool they are, and based on how I like them. And one of you guys actually also made a tier list for me that we're gonna go through right now, which has every single SMG4 character in the universe that I know of so far. And on top here, they're gonna be placed all the way from the GOAT down to the worst of all time. But before we start the ranking, I very quickly gotta tell you guys about Stanley.fish, which is my very own merch site. Over the last year, I have worked with over 30 artists to bring you guys some amazing artworks. And depending on when this video is out, the first and maybe the second artwork may just be out. So if you want to get some cool stuff for your walls, be sure to check out Stanley.fish and support the channel. With that said, let us rank some characters. And we are gonna start out with Luke. Luke is it quintessential? Luke is the most important, the second most important character in the entire SMG4 universe. If it wasn't for Luke, none of this would be possible. If we're talking like character-wise, Luke really only shows up in some videos when he's talking about, hey, get some merch, we made this video, thank you guys for watching the movie. I want to say that he's the GOAT, even though that Luke himself doesn't really play like a huge role except for like the Genesis, the Revelations arc. The Revelations arc where he walks around to like the God box and so on. I want to put him in GOAT because Luke is definitely the GOAT. When it comes to Kevin, I honestly have no idea who Kevin voice acts. Hold on. Oh, so Kevin's roles are Fishy Boopkins and also Axel. One of my all-time favorite characters. Like definitely top 10 is Axel. So I do wanna... Is he just as good as Luke though? That's the question that I wanna ask. Is he just as good as Luke? I think he is. In which case, I'm gonna put him all the way up at the GOAT. We do have the SMG4 castle. Now, when we compare this to like Peach's castle, I much rather prefer Peach's castle. Peach's castle is more like, it's more iconic, it's more nostalgic, but that's also because it's like Mario 64. SMG4's castle didn't really stay long enough, or it didn't get introduced. It got introduced too late into the show, if I can put it that way. So I wanna say that it's a good castle, but overall, Peach's castle is so iconic that we're gonna put them all the way up in the GOAT. And then we also have Peach's castle, which is like down in the dumps. We don't really see a whole lot about this area. There is like one episode, I believe, where we get a closer look on Peach in one of the ending videos, one of the goodbye videos, where the team actually saves Peach, right? We kind of forgot about Peach, yeah. After Revelations, I believe, or yeah, after Revelations, the entire castle disappeared, and then Peach was just stuck down there in the bottom, in the ground, just waiting for someone to save them, and they were never saved until the last final video. When it comes to this here, I feel like we introduced that there is some overall magical being that lives inside like the ground of the castle, but overall they're not really that important. So I'm gonna put them on mid. Oh, we're gonna start strong. Okay, so Mario. Mario's kind of annoying, but is he annoying in a good way or a bad way? Because Mario is literally the definition of random equals funny. He's loud sounds, loud noises. The only thing he wants is spaghetti. He's like good old Tumblr from like 10 years ago. He's extremely random. He's like a living, breathing YouTube poop. I want to say that he's definitely overrated one way or another. So I cannot put him in the GOAT. I cannot put him in amazing. The least that I can do is have him on the top of good, because Mario is an important character to the entire universe and how all the stories are structured, because Mario is, alongside with SMG 3 and 4, one of the main characters. So I can only really put him in good, and that's my opinion. When it comes to animatronic Mario, so the thing is, I do believe I have watched like the first of Spaghetti's Fasseria. I forgot what it's called. Like the first video of, I forgot what it's called. Wait, what the hell is it called again? Freddy's Spaghetteria. I have watched the very first video, but I don't believe I have ever seen animatronic Mario so far. It is on my list to do. Like, I already have a playlist where I actually have to check out every single SMG4 FNAF video, but for now, I don't have enough information on animatronic Mario to put them anywhere. In which case, I'm just gonna put them in neutral. I can imagine they're probably just gonna be like normal Mario, be like, you know, not really overstimulating, but they're just gonna be loud and random, but beep boop instead. So I'm gonna put them in neutral. Luigi. Luigi is a very forgettable character. Sometimes he's on adventures, other times he just stays at home. Usually he's like a scaredy cat. He's like a, I'm gonna be honest though, Luigi is kind of like a little bitch. He's a little too overrated. And when he finally shows up on screen, he's like the punching bag. He's like the butt of the joke. He's not fully developed not fully fledged, if it makes sense. He is just the guy who shows up whenever we gotta punch on someone, whenever we gotta make a joke of someone. So in that case, I'm gonna put them on mid, because Luigi is actually kind of mid. Now, Breaking Luigi, on the other hand, is a completely different story, because they are a hard ass. They don't give a shit about anybody. If you try to cross paths with Breaking Luigi, you're gonna die. And that's why he's going up on the good tier. He's gonna, you know, he's gonna be like on the left side. Mario is definitely more important than the castle, but Breaking Luigi is definitely better. And here we have SMG4. SMG4 is just as important as Luke, just as important as Kevin. So they're gonna have to be all the way up in the GOAT. And the same goes for SMG3. They're actually gonna be right next to Kevin. So we have SMG4, Luke, and then we have Kevin. Actually, we have SMG3 and then Kevin, because SMG4 is the good one. He's the one that keeps the story going, the adventures going. He's the one that keeps going on like different adventures. SMG3 is like the evil guy, the villain, his polar opposite, the guy who's like always trying to be a nuisance, an idiot, a dumbass. I do see that we have SMG4 from the YouTube arc, but that was when, during the YouTube arc and all the past arcs, SMG3 was the villain. But after they got to the showgrounds, that is when they basically became friends. You have SMG3's bombs and coffee and what it was. So they actually managed to figure out how to live together, which is why he's the GOAT up here. But when it comes to SMG3 during his YouTuber arc, I do still want to say that he's an important character. He's still well written, but he's not a GOAT. I'm gonna put him up in amazing. When it comes to FM and X, I can kind of like rank these guys together because I don't remember them. I recently just watched like the final goodbye videos, and in them there's like one in those videos there's like one splatfest where X and FM were basically dueling, and SMG4 acknowledges, hey, I actually did mess up, I didn't include you guys in any of like the new adventures. So just like the castle, the Peach's castle, they kind of got forgotten over time. So I don't have any strong feelings when I hear about FM and X. I just kind of feel like I'm neutral. Like they're just here, like they just exist. But Bob though, Bob is my man. I love Bob so much. He's funny, he's cool, he's attractive, he got good jokes, he treats people like garbage. He's like the jokester, he's the Joker, baby. He's a good written character. Even Bob the rapper, I think he low-key needs his own tier. Low-key, Bob and Bob the rapper deserves to be in their very own spot on top. And I think we might actually have to do that with Chris and Swag when we get down to them. But for now, Bob is just he's a fun character. He's not really like a relatable character, but he's the guy that keeps chugging along. It doesn't matter like how bad or how good the adventure is. He always finds a way to like turn it around and make the situation funny. He's always good at making jokes and making sure that everything keeps running smoothly. Even in like, you know, sappy, what am I trying to say? Even in like sad situations, that is when Bob really shines. Maggie is also a really great character that goes through a lot of character development throughout this entire show here. I remember when Maggie was just like an inkling in Splatfest in like the Splatoon game, but she really improved. Like from every single arc to arc, she got like more and more character. She finished her education, she became a lawyer, she just overall became a fully fledged character. And even during like the last video, which was like the Splatfest, it was kind of like a nostalgic video, going all the way back to her past and reliving some of those moments. And she also has like a couple of times when she falls into a trap, for example with the one-shot Ren, I remember, but she still comes up on top. I don't want to call her the GOAT, but she's definitely an amazing character. Leggy, on the other hand, is kind of blind. I know that she doesn't try to understand puzzles. The thing is, Leggy only understands puzzles because puzzles is the only one that Leggy is really around. Puzzles showed a little bit of affection towards Leggy, and that's why they became friendly to them. And I feel like Leggy is almost oblivious to the fact of what is going on. When everybody is fighting against Puzzles, Leggy doesn't know everything that Puzzles has done, which is why they're so protective. So I feel like Leggy is cute, but they do have sort of bad intentions. So in that case, I can only really put them in the start of neutral. Because again, Leggy is a super cute, adorable character, but they don't really have the brain cells to comprehend what is going on. So we're gonna meet in the middle and call it neutral. Tari, though, is also a character that goes through a lot. I remember, what is it called? Meta Runner. She's also the main character in Meta Runner. She goes through a lot in terms of character development throughout the different episodes, of starting by being a gamer, being afraid by everything. I remember like the first couple of arcs, she was afraid to any sort of confrontation. If there was any like confronting moment where Tari was involved in it, she would be horrified. She would be so scared. But then she learned to evolve. She learned to combat those moments, to move forward instead of just being scared and curling up into a ball. So I want to put Tari close to Meggy, an amazing character. She's gonna be right on the other side here. Clench, I want to say, is almost like a throwaway character. We got introduced to Clench, and then they kind of disappeared, and then they kind of showed up again sometimes. So I don't really have any strong feelings for them. I'm just gonna put them in neutral, because they don't really play a huge role and they're just kind of like around. Ooh, Psycho. Psycho is, she's got a hard shell and she's very quick at like pushing you aside. I believe she does have good intentions and she does want relationships and friendships, but she has like such a hard shell and she puts up such a hard facade that she ends up becoming a little bit annoying in the end. She tries to be like, not the hotshot. She always tries to be like the hard guy in the situation who's like, I'm the tough guy. Don't mess with me. Don't mess with my friends. But deep within, I think that she just wants like real connections, if it makes sense. Even though she does have friends, she's still though very on a surface level, if that makes sense. I don't believe that she even, when it comes to Meggy, she got an education. Tara got over her fears. What did Psycho even go through? Like, yeah, I know she came from a video game, but I don't even remember if she went through any specific arcs. Like, I know that she got friends. Was that maybe her arc? That she just became friends with different people? Is that really just it? I don't have any strong feelings for her, but I do believe that she's a good character. So in that case, we can put her in about like right here. And then we got Chris and Swag. Swag is great. Swag is amazing. Swag is super funny. Chris doesn't really get enough screen time, so I can't really put them together. But I'm gonna have to compare them, or not compare them. I'm gonna have to like rank them at the same time, because usually when Chris is around, Swag is also around. Because Swag definitely has a character on his own. Like, Swag can be on his own, but Chris needs Swag in order for it to make sense. So when it comes to Chris, he doesn't get enough screen time. Not enough happens. There's not really a lot of character development. He doesn't really play like a huge point in like the overarching plot and the overarching story. So I want to put him in good, but before the castle. Swag, on the other hand, gets to be all the way at the top of GOAT. Because just like with Bob, Swag is funny, Swag is interesting, Swag has a lot of takeaway lines, Swag doesn't give a shit about anybody. That's why he has to be on the GOAT. I think we need a tier for Axel. Do we actually need a tier for Axel? Is Axel better than Bob? No. Is Axel better than Swag? Maybe. Is Axel better than Meggy? All the way. Axel was introduced as this like anime-loving character artist. He wanted to make his own anime, I believe, and then he got corrupted and turned into Eldritch Axel, and then he became like a bad guy. Axel definitely was a good character who had good intentions. And what sucks so much is that he was taken away before his character was fully fledged, or maybe his story was just told. Maybe him turning into like the evil SMG4, or not SMG4, like the evil SMG0 was the end of his story, because he was corrupted by SMG0, and then they had to literally kill him in order to stop SMG0. Axel is a character that I hold very dear, if I can say it that way. He's kind of like, I wouldn't really call him a loser, but he's kind of like he is a little bit like a loser, like a tiny bit like he's like an anime kind of guy. And just because you like anime doesn't mean that you're a loser, but he's a little bit too nerdy. He's a little bit too insecure. I feel like his personality is very much, there's a lot of insecurities in play, if that makes sense. And for that, he is amazing. But is he the GOAT? He's the GOAT before the castle. I do believe this is probably the best tier for Axel, because I love Swag, SMG... He goes over here. He goes over here. Bob, Swag, Axel, and then the rest. That's where we put him. When it comes to Eldritch Axel is actually such a great character design, and that entire arc with them was super well written as well. I really do like how that story basically came to a very great conclusion, even though it sucked that Axel was killed in the end. The character in itself, the story in itself, how they were overtaken by SMG0 was so amazing. So in that case, they're gonna be an amazing character. Even though they're evil, they're still an amazing character to me. Melanie is just adorable. Melanie is super cute. She doesn't really play a huge role. Like, yeah, I know she has like, you know, ultimate powers. She can like turn into an eldritch being, like an alternate being, like she can turn into a deity, a god almost. But she kind of just like messes around. She's just here for like the fun of it, and then she also sleeps a lot. So I don't really have anything bad to say about her, more than she's not really fully fledged. I can only really put her in good, but she's gonna be in good before Mario. After Mario? Ooh, after Mario. Melon Man is... Watermelon Man? Watermelon Man is just kind of like there. Melanie's dad, the Marty arc. I do remember Watermelon Man. He was kind of like the Slender Man of this universe, where he just like showed up out of nowhere. He's all... Just like Clench, he's kind of like a throwaway character. Like, he's here, there's a little bit of a video of him, there's a little bit of a story of him, and then he just kind of disappears. So I can only really put him in neutral. Boopkins, on the other hand, is, I have learned to live with Boopkins, but Boopkins' only personality trait is, oh my god, I love anime, and he doesn't really evolve more than that. Like, yeah, Boopkins is a friendship kind of guy. Like, oh, I love my friends. Friendship is power. What is it? What if anime was the real friends we made along the way? You know, he's the kind of guy who's just, he's not really that interesting, and he's not really that fully fledged, and he's not really that important. And I'm sorry to all my Boopkins lovers and all my Boopkins fans. I'm gonna have to disappoint you on this, but he's kind of like a mid character. Like, definitely lower on the mid, but he's just there. He's just like along the road for the plot, for the adventure. He doesn't really contribute that much. Boopkin's dad, though, GOAT. Nah, Boopkin's dad is also kind of like a throwaway character. He's just here, I would say. And would it be bad if I rated him higher than Boopkins? Definitely. But I don't have any strong feelings for his dad. So he's gonna be like right next to Watermelon Man. Shroomy and Anti-Shroomy I can kind of put in the same place. Like, Shroomy isn't really annoying. Shroomy is just, again, here for the ride. He's just here for the adventure. They don't really contribute that much. I know that they're like one of the, can I really say like main side characters? They are like one of the main side characters. But in terms of like what they add to the story, they're just kind of like there. I think I said the same for like the last 4 characters, but they don't really add a whole lot to the story. And the same goes for Anti-Shroomy. I think I remember Anti-Shroomy in like the Mario's Lemonade episode. I think that's where he turned evil at some point. But other than that, Anti-Shroomy is also like a character that I don't really recognize. Like, they're supposed to be like a villain. They're supposed to be a bad guy, right? The latest time I remember them was in the goodbye video for Mario, where they were a pirate in the alternate timeline. That is the recent one that I remember. And before that, I don't really have any like memories of seeing them, like of remembering them, aside from like the Lemonade stand, if they're even like at the Lemonade stand. So for Shroomy and Anti-Shroomy, I'm gonna rank them together and put them straight up here neutral, because I don't really have any feelings for him. Niles is it bad if I say that Niles is once again like a throwaway character? Like, yeah, they were huge in the Revelations arc. It was Niles who was a bully. Then they turned out to be SMG4. Then they were the bad guy. And then we have the God Box and everything. Or is that the one with Axel? I don't really remember. And I can also say the same. I can really also say the same with SMG4. God damn. There's like a lot of throwaway characters here that you don't really see a lot. Niles was here. Then Niles was evil. Then we had to kill Niles. The end of the story. I'm gonna put them in mid. I'm really gonna put them in mid. And the entire part with SMG4 again was like, yeah, we fly to another universe where all the SMGs came together. And then we got all the backstory about SMG1 and 2, about the different worlds where Zero came in, and it was the bad Zero, wasn't it? There was a bad version of Zero that wanted to take over the entire world or like kill everybody for some. It's been like a couple of months, so I don't really remember the entire story. But Zero is once again a character who just like came and went. These characters here are gonna be hard to rank. Like, insanely hard to rank. Because I feel like I'm kind of saying the same to all of them. There's like throwaway character, mid, throwaway character. For SMG4, they are important for the plot, but overall, they don't really show up enough. I can really only put them at the top of neutral. That's literally the only thing I can do. As for Eldritch SMG4, that is the, I forget if it's the Genesis of the or the Revelations arc. That was Revelations, right? Where they had to fight off SMG4 before the entire world was destroyed. And that's also when you saw Axel, I believe. The boss fight was good. The character, very well designed. That episode, that arc, was really, really great. And they also show up at the end, I believe. At the final video, or not the final video, at the final episodes of the Puzzle Vision arc, they also show up as like one of the final enemies. But again, they kind of just like came and went. And I believe the reason why Eldritch Axel is like more important is because I was about to say I have feelings for Axel. I like Axel as a character, and when you see a character that you like being twisted into some Eldritch horror, then you're gonna be emotionally hurt by that. You're gonna have a feeling for it. But Zero is a character that is just here, and their Eldritch version, I know they're like one of the main villains. They're all just like kind of here. I can really only put them in neutral again. And I think I'm gonna kind of have to say, I think I'm gonna kind of have to say the same with like SMG 1 and 2. SMG 1 and 2 was important for SMG 3 and 4 to understand how to harness meme energy, which sounds super weird. They learned how to work together. They learned how to hold hands villains and work together in order to defeat the greater evil. But then they kinda just like bounced again. They were very important for like half an arc or like a couple of episodes, and then poof, when we went over to the showgrounds, they just, maybe this is my opinion because I've used like the last 5 videos of watching the Puzzle Vision arc, so I'm only really recognizing or remembering the Puzzle Vision characters. Overall, they are important to the plot, but I can't really rank them higher. I can rank them higher than the castle. That's really the only thing that I can do, and this is really the only thing I can do. Waluigi, oh God, again, Waluigi doesn't really get enough showtime. Like really, he doesn't get enough showtime. We can take him and Wario at the same time, actually. Waluigi and Wario, we have Waluigi's taco stand, and we have Wario that is trying to scam other people for money, which happened in some of the earlier arcs. But again, they're not part of the main cast. So whenever they do show up, it's just like, I'm gonna scam you for money, I'm gonna take all your money, and then they just disappear. And Waluigi is just kind of like, oh, I'm here running my taco stand, and then he also just disappears. And I do remember the Waluigi arc where he, because he wasn't a main character in any of the Nintendo games, because he wasn't in Super Smash Bros, that is why he turned evil, why he essentially decided to destroy everything if possible. So when it comes to Waluigi and Wario, I can, again, neutral, because I don't have any positive feelings, and I also, on the other hand, don't really have any negative feelings towards them. Waluigi during the Waluigi arc was actually a very well-written character, because it makes sense if you are constantly part of a friend group or a series or a movie, if you are constantly part of something and then you are suddenly pushed aside, then you're just an assist trophy. You're just nothing. You're just a side character. Even though you have a very big fan base, you are extremely important to like the overall story and the overall cast of Mario. Waluigi is one important character, and their arc totally made sense because they deserved justice. So for that, they're gonna be a good character, and they're actually gonna be up next to Chris. The Rock and Wizard Rock are, again, just kinda like, you can almost rank them together. The Wizard Rock, the only time you see them is during the final episode where they send Mario, spoiler by the way, they send Mario back in time because Mario didn't want SMG4 to end. Mario just wanted SMG4 to like keep on going forever and ever and ever. They show up again, they disappear. And the same with The Rock. The Rock is like almost like a reoccurring character that sometimes show up and sometimes they don't show up. Sometimes they're just like there to like kick someone over, to break someone's kneecaps. But other than that, they don't really contribute a whole lot. So for me, they're gonna go all the way down in neutral. And now I really do feel like I'm repeating myself because I don't remember any specific instance where Wimpu is important, where Wimpu does something funny, something interesting, anything that is like that contributes anything to the story. They're kind of like still a character. Maybe they're just like a filler character, right? They only really show up when you need like this sort of like weeb character. You know, someone who is obsessed with anime, someone who is like a very insecure version of a Japanese high school guy. I can only really do neutral. Goddamn, why am I so negative, dude? I can only really do neutral. Belle in Meta Runner is extremely important because she starts off with being the enemy of Tari. They kind of like battle each other all the time, even though that Tari works together with I forget. Tari beats Belle and they join the Corp and then they fight off each other. And then I do believe that Belle in the end decides to help them out, right? Like Belle is one of them in the end. But Belle in SMG4 is kind of just like an insert. She just appears. Sometimes she's around, sometimes she isn't, but she doesn't really again contribute anything to the story. I can only really put her here. Jub Jub though. Jub Jub is the GOAT. Jub Jub is a funny little creature that's a likable personality, even though they are with SMG3. Jub Jub is just a good name. Just because of their name, they're gonna get amazing. Just because of their name. I can imagine all of you guys. So you rank Jub Jub over Leggy, Mario, and SMG 1 and 2? It's Jub Jub. You can't argue with Jub Jub. Luigi doll, I don't even remember. I really don't remember. Kaiso is kinda also, I feel like Kaiso was introduced to give Psycho more personality because Psycho was a little bit too shallow. So I'm actually gonna put him in mid because again, he's only really here because of his connection to Psycho. That's the only real reason to like maybe fully fledged or give more personality to Psycho. Kaiso's purpose is to make this character shine, if that makes sense. You go over Chris, yeah. Rob deserves more screen time. Rob likes corn. I like corn. Like corn on the cob corn. Rob is funny. Rob is a pumpkin. I don't remember anything from Rob. I remember like Rob was one of he was like one of the characters who had like a corn stand where you sold corn, but I do remember he was like a funny guy. But still, he doesn't get enough screen time in some of like the recent episodes. So I can really only put him in good, but he's gonna be after the SMGs. So I do know we have an entire like part or arc with Marty, but Marty is just like a sentient cardboard cutout that doesn't really add a whole lot to the story. God damn, I'm saying the same shit with like a different character. Marty was only really introduced because Mario didn't want to make like pizza or spaghetti anymore. And then they were completely neglected and they stole all of Marty's money. So Marty kind of became sentient and then started killing everybody or like starting to get revenge on anybody. Apart from that, what do they contribute? Like, yeah, they're an enemy at some point, but it's like Hideo Kojima behind me is just like cardboard. I can rip his head off and then like the fight is over. Like, what does Marty really do? I should definitely get a Marty cutout. I'm gonna write that down real quick. I don't know if it's possible because I gotta get like a good PNG image of it, but Marty is definitely gonna be turned into a cardboard. You know, just because of that, just because they were gonna turn Marty into a cardboard cutout, I'm gonna put them into good character. They're gonna go above the SMGs. Just because of that. Because they have that recognizable face. Louis is just bad. Louis is just bad. Like, they don't really have enough showtime. They're just, again, Louis is just kind of like here, I believe. Bowser is funny. When I think about Bowser in SMG4, all that I think about is him like shaking and moving and like just doing funny poses and so on. He always tries to crash the party. He tries to steal Peach, of course, but he's the top of neutral for me. And when it comes to Bowser Jr., I don't really recognize them. I don't really remember Bowser Jr. in like any way possible. I think we're gonna scale this down like a whole lot, otherwise you can't even see what's going on here. Bowser Jr., I really don't even remember doing anything significant. If I really trying to think back, like as hard as I possibly can, they're just kind of like here. They're just like, they just exist. Big SMG4 is... God, bro! I low-key feel like the last characters that we have in here are gonna be extremely hard to add any sort of like story to. Because if I rank anybody in neutral, that's because I feel like they are not significant enough for the entire story. So if you see me just rank someone in neutral, it's because I don't really feel like they add too much. They don't really do too much. They are not that important. Big SMG4 is cute, but they're supposed to be SMG4's pet, and they only really come around when SMG4 needs them to be around. So they kinda exist in this like limbo sort of void where, yeah, they are part of the main gang, but only really when SMG4 means it and believes it. So I can put them at the top of neutral, and that's really all I can do. Eggdog is, oh my god, Eggdog and Terrence. Bro, Eggdog is one of the most important characters in this entire universe. Like, Eggdog furthers the narrative. Like, this is why SMG4 should get an Oscar for all of their performances. Eggdog was here when Terrence disappeared, and Terrence was SMG3's best friend during the YouTuber arc. When SMG3 was cast into the shadows and left in the meme graveyard, the only person that was here for him was Terrence. And when Terrence disappeared, when Terrence sacrificed themselves to save us, Eggdog came in to be that comfort that SMG3 needed. So they're both gonna be... Eggdog is gonna be amazing next to SMG3, but Terrence deserves to be a GOAT, because they are a legend. They deserve to have this spot up here. The dead memes of the internet graveyard, worst of all time. It's dead internet memes. Just, at this point, wrap it up. Wrap it up, everybody. When it comes to Karen and all of her lovely children, I think I gotta have to rank them together. God. It's gonna be kind of hard. It seems like Karen has a lot of underlying issues, and it makes sense with her past and weapons and everything that goes on, but it seems like she definitely needs some anger management courses, and she definitely needs like an additional hand with the 3 children that she's trying to like nourish and like try to, you know, take care of. She only really shines throughout her own arc. In any of the other episodes, just like all of the other characters up here, she's kind of like a throwaway character where she just exists to further the story and further the narrative. But in her own arc, getting all of the information about her past, her being an assassin, her getting these children here with weapons, and her like escaping the life of crime to like make sure that her children grows up in a good environment, makes her a really lovable character. So for Karen herself, I feel like she's written very, very well. She has purpose. There's a reason why she did everything she did. I remember now, she was outcast. Then she became an assassin. Then she became a mother. Then she tried to escape the world of crime to basically make sure that her kids grew up in the right environment. And that is great character design. That is a great story for someone like Karen. So I can't really give her amazing, but I can give her good. And all of her children can be past. All of her children can be before the showgrounds. We can have Corey. Corey is super funny. Zach is like the fun one, and then Katie at the end here. Corey is the goofy one that's like super memey. Zach is the more serious one, and Katie... Zach is the bully kind of guy, and Katie is the one that's more serious, if I can say it in that way. Peach, again, plays a lot of roles in, like, the first couple of episodes, the first couple of arcs, but after that, she's kind of, like, forgotten once again. So we're gonna put her in neutral. For Monster Peach, like, I do understand that Peach turned into Monster Peach and then they saved her, but again, it's like, she's in 3 episodes. I'm gonna put her in mid for that. What's the entire point of turning Peach into a monster just for there to only be one single episode with her that really is the focus? Because we go down into the castle grounds, the Peach's castle in the ground, to save Maggie during Puzzle Vision. And then we have one single episode again during the end where we just grab her one more time and like save her from herself. And that's essentially just it. Frankie, I really don't remember. All of these oh my god, you guys. I think I'm gonna have to change a little bit around so we can do a speed round real quick. For all of these characters down here, Frankie, I don't remember. Toad is kinda just around. Toadette is very angry at Toad because Toad always forgets them. That's the only thing that I recognize. I can't really call that good character design because Toad is just around and Toadette is crazy because Toad always forgets Toadette. So you also go down here. Toadsworth is also just around. Donkey Kong has a lot of funny moments. I can definitely put them up here so they're like right before Leggy. Goomba, I don't really give a shit. Yoshi, I don't remember anything with Yoshi. Birdo is the same. Steve has a lot of good moments in the final couple of videos where it's like quotes from Steve. But other than that, Steve is also just a character that just shows up when the story needs it. Are they better than Clench? Yes, they are better than animatronic Mario. Peppino, God, I gotta change this up again. Hold up, guys. Peppino really shines in the last couple of arcs where there's like a couple of episodes where him and Mario are fighting because Peppino has his own spaghetti restaurant and he has his pizza restaurant, and then Mario has his spaghetti restaurant, and that's where they start fighting each other. They do join forces, right? They like set aside their differences and then everything is goated at the end, but still Peppino is just still kind of here. Hall Monitor. Hal Monitor? Is it Hal Monitor? Hal Monitor, I don't really have a... God, I feel like I'm super boring here. Because I feel like most of these characters don't really contribute to anything. Like, I feel like the ones that I had the most feelings for are already up at the top. And we do have some of the end, like, puzzles and weapons and so on, which is like super goaty. We also have Miyamoto, we have Lawyer Kong. We also have, what do we have? There's like Francis, Hideo Kojima is down here. We do get to some characters who are interesting, but a lot of them I feel like are just they're here for the joke. And I keep repeating myself, dude, like this is actually hard. Hal Monitor shows up a lot. I can really only give them after Steve. Jeeves, they're around for like a lot more episodes. They show up, I believe there's like one court case where Jeeves is around, where Jeeves shows up, but they don't really do anything. So I can put them right beside animatronic Mario. Depresso doesn't really say anything. Like, they show up and that's it. Next to Mario. Old Man Hobo. Next to Mario. And all of these Squid Heavy, and I can really only put you guys like... I can really only put you here. Down here. Down here. Cappy goes here. Master Hand goes here. The Fat Shy Guy goes here. EGAT goes here. Teletubbies don't really play a huge role. Sonic just appears. Eggman is here. Baldi has that one Mario episode where it's like math with Mario, I believe. So I could theoretically put them up in like... I'm gonna put them near Bowser in the top of neutral. Because they show up in like Mario's Maths and Basics. I think there's like one episode where Mario gets spanked by Baldi. And it's like a super funny episode. But after that, Baldi just kind of like disappears. And then they're not with us anymore. Glamrock Freddy, I haven't seen like all the FNAF Pizzeria Spaghetteria ones. Vanny, even if I watch them, I believe I have watched the first Freddy Spaghetteria video, and I believe I watched the remastered one as well. So I haven't seen Glamrock and Vanny and Freddy and Bonnie and Chica, and I have seen Bonnie and Chica and Foxy and so on. But I do still believe they're just like a throwaway character, that they don't really contribute that much for the overarching story. So Freddy goes in mid, Bonnie goes in mid, or in neutral, Chica goes in neutral, Foxy also goes in neutral, Balloon Boy goes in neutral, Puppet goes in neutral, Purple Guy goes in neutral. When it comes to, God, I gotta resize my screen again, bro. At least we're like almost at the end. God, we're actually gonna change this. Hold on. Mr. Yeast shows up for like a couple of episodes. And then what do? They have like a game show. They show up in the YouTuber arc, but they don't really do that much. Neutral. Francis is in that one. Oh God, there is an arc with Francis, isn't there? Francis shows up during like the Lemonade Milk episode, and then they turn out to be the evil guy, and then we go into the factory and we save Maggie. Isn't that when Maggie is turned into a human, and then we kill Francis, and then Francis never shows up again? So neutral. Hideo Kojima. Goat. Where is he? Goat. Goat would be too much. We can put them in amazing character. They're gonna be just below Jub Jub. They're gonna be amazing. Susan Wojcicki, during the entire YouTuber arc, is just trying to enforce the YouTube guidelines. They're just gonna be like, demonetize, demonetize, demonetize. Even though they are the main villain, how they are written is, from what I remember, she's kinda lazy. And why she is restricting videos is because of the entire apocalypse that happens on YouTube at that time. So you do have that entire story arc with her trying to age restrict, demonetize, and limit videos as possible. Is she a good villain? I think she's an alright villain, so I can definitely put her up in good character design. Definitely before SMGs. Dr. Kawashima. I remember there is one bit with Dr. Kawashima during the YouTuber arc where they start playing Pong in the middle of nowhere, and that shit was hilarious as fuck. So that's why we're gonna put them up in good character. Where they deserve to be in good character is definitely next to Susan down here. Kermit, kinda. Oh, I put some of these guys in mid. Why did I put some of these guys in mid? I think I messed up. You go in neutral, neutral, neutral. Neutral? Yes. I, by accident, put a lot of these characters here in mid, which is not really what I wanted to do, so they're gonna go back into neutral. Kermit the Frog is kind of like part of the school videos, I believe. So again, the Bucks Club leader, they have a funny accent. So that means that they can be like on top with Mario down here. They have a funny accent, that's it. The God Box itself is a cardboard box. And even though it plays a good role, as a character itself, I don't really have anything to say to it. Yeah, like the God Box is well designed. The story about the God Box is well designed. But then when you come to the real life world and it's literally just like a cardboard box with computers and stuff and gear in it, you just go in here. Judge Kirby, is that that's probably during the lawsuit arc. Lawyer Kong is, we're gonna just do like Judge Kirby goes in here. Lawyer Kong is a fun character. He tries to shut down everything and everyone. All the fun he tries to shut down because of all the Nintendo and copyright. I believe that was probably like the same time with like SML when they got basically taken down by Nintendo and their lawyers. So for Lawyer Kong, they do have a lot of funny moments. They don't really, I mean, they do further the story a bit. I can definitely put them up in good, but they're gonna be after SMG 1 and 2. Miyamoto, when he shows up, isn't that during one of the times with Mario where he's like slacking in his job, he's slacking at his work, and then Miyamoto, he wants to like make a new game. Again, Miyamoto just kind of shows up and starts screaming at Mario when SMG4 feels like it. So I can definitely put them at the I can put them at the bottom of good. But do they deserve to be over big SMG4? I don't believe they have to be in front of big SMG4, but they can definitely be next to Bowser down here. Nintendo Lawyers, super forgettable. Phoenix Wrights, super forgettable. The cursed keyboard in It's Gotta Be Perfect is just a throwaway character. The Demon Knight Goop is also just a thing that exists here. Destiny was a character that was needed to make Maggie a better person. Maggie needed that rivalship, that rivalry to happen in order to make her a better character. Is Destiny a good character though? No, she's a stuck-up bitch. She's manipulative. All she wants is to win for what matter the cost. She's a bad character. Destiny's mid. Destiny's mid. Definitely over here. Definitely over here. One-Shot Ren is just an illusion. Like, One-Shot Ren is only here in order to lure everybody over to the Western Spaghetti, to that farm, to that facility, essentially. So, One-Shot Ren is just like an illusion, right? He doesn't really do anything. He doesn't really contribute to anything. He's just a figment, an enigma of my imagination. So you go to neutral, buddy. The Mario is a throwaway joke. We have Mr. L in Puzzle Vision arc. He shows up like once, I believe, and then he's gone again. Tomb. Tomb is a character of a few words. Tomb is a guy who is all actions, no language whatsoever. Tomb's actions transcend space and time and makes Tomb a lovable character, even though they're like 30 years old and like a mass killer. Tomb is the friend that Weapons need when he needs it the most. When Puzzles finally stabs Weapons in the back, that is when Tombs is with him. Tomb is kinda a character that need Weapons, because Tomb on his own doesn't really do a lot. Like, he's only really around when Weapons is around. So I can definitely put him up in good. Where in good? Before Hideo Kojima. The Death Cube is just a Death Cube. All they are is like a massive clanker that tries to go around and like capture different villains, but they're just like law enforcement. They're kind of just like, where was the Hell Monitor? They're kind of like Hell Monitor. They're just around when they're needed. Weapons. Here's the good stuff. It's the last final three. Weapons it's Gianni that voice acts him. Weapons has a very tragic past. He was a killer with Karen as well. I understand both of his perspectives. I understand that he wants to be a supporting father, that he wants to turn over a new leaf, but going from being a world-class assassin to being a family father can be extremely hard. And him wanting to connect with his children is so heartwarming, but he does it in the worst way possible. I do believe in the end, he still ended it on a good note with Puzzles. He definitely found his way forward. He redeemed himself for everything that he has done. He found out what needed to be done in order to help the ones around him. And for that, I definitely want to give him amazing character. He's gonna be in the top. I love Weapons. Weapons is really good. When it comes to Puzzle Visions, I think I might do these two at the same time, because I think that might be like the realest way to do it. Puzzles is misunderstood. Like, a lot. Throughout the different arcs, we figure out that all he wanted was to create. He wanted friends. He wanted connections. He wanted validation. He just wanted to make something and for people to consume that and enjoy that. But he ended up doing it the wrong way. Instead of fostering connections and getting people around him, he took those connections. He forced people to join him in his different game shows, in the different movies. He teleported them into his own dimension to turn them into puppets to further his own narrative. But what he should have done is just ask people for help, is to get friends the right way. Puzzles had good intentions through and through, but absolute horrible execution. He was well-rounded, well-written, his start was good, his backstory was good, and we figured out a way to close off Puzzles entirely. I want to put him in GOAT. I feel like he's better than Weapons. He's definitely better than Weapons. I want to put him right before Terrence. Mr. Puzzles as a character is something that I can relate to. That you just want validation, you just want to be in a community, you just want to be liked, if that makes sense. And sometimes forcing people to like you, or forcing opinions, forcing everything, will hurt you and everyone around you more in the end. And finally, we have Crazy Puzzles here at the end. Crazy Puzzles is what happens when you are thrown away, when you are rejected through and through, over and over again. When all you want to is, I'm projecting hardcore right now. When all you want to do is create and people just reject that. If all you want to do is just make movies and violence and sex on TV and people just don't vibe with that. Puzzles wanted to make cinema, but then they made brain rot in order to appeal to the masses. And after the masses don't like them anymore, that's when they crash out. So while I understand that their reaction is valid, Crazy Mr. Puzzles is a villain that is needed in order to tell the full story of Puzzles. We need both sides of this story. As a villain, Crazy Puzzles is amazing. The hoops he goes through, how he manipulates people, how he teleports them into his own domain expansion, how he basically forces people to do his bidding, is insane. So I can only really put him in amazing character. The GOAT. Nah. Is he better than Terrence? It's both sides of the same coin. Mr. Puzzles is needed for Crazy Mr. Puzzles. If you need to understand Mr. Puzzles, you need to understand Crazy Mr. Puzzles. And in order to understand Crazy Mr. Puzzles, you gotta understand Mr. Puzzles itself. And this is my tier list. Holy schmackaroni. Let's zoom out here so we can get the big picture real quick, because this was a very long and interesting one. Bob is an amazing character that is super funny. He's always lighthearted. He makes the best out of every single situation, every single location that he's in. All of the characters in the GOAT are needed to further the narrative. They are needed to basically tell a good adventure, tell a good story. Same for amazing characters. Amazing characters that are almost fully fledged. Hideo Kojima is there because Hideo Kojima. Good characters are recognizable side characters that show up from time to time. They are part of the major plots, part of the major arcs, but they sort of disappear and is forgotten over time. When that arc is wrapped up, or when that part of the story is wrapped up, then they're kind of just thrown away into the void, but they still do play a major point in some of the other arcs. Neutral characters are just characters that show up because it's like, oh, we're in Five Nights at Freddy's, we're in the castle now, we need a rock, we need someone to stumble on something, Boopkins needs a father. They are characters that just shows up for a gag or for a joke. They don't really have any deeper meanings or any deeper personalities. They don't really have anything that is important to the character. Sonic could have been Knuckles. Eggman could have been Shadow. The Hand could have been the other Hand. Purple Guy could have been Michael Afton. Schmidt, the other guy from FNAF. Goomba could have been a Koopa. Bowser Jr. could have been, you know, evil Bowser Jr. from Mario Sunshine. You can literally replace they're like shells almost. You could replace all of these characters with other characters and they would still make sense. Mid is a character that is underdeveloped. Characters that are underutilized, undercooked. Characters that are really only needed to further others' narratives, like Peach's Castle, like Luigi, like Boopkins, like Destiny, like Niles, for example. A bad character, I mean, I would really say that Louis could also be in neutral. Like, Louis really doesn't need to be in bad. Because Louis is just like all of the other ones in here, a throwaway character that is just in here for the story, and then they disappear again when their story is told. Worst of all time, we can definitely say is the meme graveyard, because it's dead memes, it's bad memes. What purpose do they serve? They're just here for absolutely nothing. And this right here is my full SMG4 tier list. Be sure to let me know in the comments how much I messed up in here. I'm gonna be honest for a second. I know that I put a lot of these characters in neutral, and that's because I don't have any strong feelings for them. And I don't really have a way to explain it or justify it or tell you guys why I feel that way. Because for me, for a character to be important, for a character to have meaning, they need to go through specific steps, like they need to have a sort of development. So if all that they are is just a shell for a joke to be told, that means that that shell could literally be anything else. If I go up and if I close my eyes here, boom, I'm looking at Mario. Mario is recognizable because he is random. He's Mario. He's always around. He's one of the main cast characters. If you replaced Mario with someone else, it would not feel the same because we are used to Mario reacting and being Mario. If suddenly it was Wario or Waluigi, it would feel off, it would feel weird, it would take some time to get used to it. I believe you could do it, but it would still feel off because we are used to Mario in this universe acting in a different way. God, this was very different from the SMG4, the SML tier list. I always confuse those two. This was very different when it comes to like the SML tier list, because SML characters, I feel like they have a lot of good funny moments, and SML is mostly just shit posting, if I can put it that way. They don't really have storylines and arcs. They do sometimes make like mini-series, but when it comes to SMG4, when I wanted to watch SMG4, people told me, watch the arcs, follow the arcs. So the way that I rate this is based on their importance, their likability, and how I feel about said characters in the arcs. If SMG4 just was shitposting, then this tier list would look completely different. But in my opinion, this is how I would rate them based on my opinion on their likability and also in terms of like importance, in terms of plot and other things. So that was probably the worst SMG4 tier list ever, everybody. I want to say thank you all for watching. If you like this, drop a like, subscribe. If you want to see more tier lists in the future, do let me know in the comments below. And with that said, let me know how I did in the comments. Actually, let me know what you think about this tier list. If I did good, if I did bad, is there anything you would change? Or is this just, am I just mid? Should I just editor? Can you like replace all of the guys in mid with just me, like a stretched full ass image of me in just mid? Guys, I may just be mid. Oh wait, that's not mid. This is mid. Editor, stretch me. Stretch me, editor, and put me in mid. Everybody, thank you all for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will head out.